I helped my sister get a job at my husband's company. Now she's acting like they're more than just coworkers, and I'm terrified I'm losing him. 8 months ago, my sister, 28F, moved back into town. A small backstory. She has not lived here in 10 years, as she originally left for college and never came back. We grew apart. We talked maybe once a year, and I haven't seen her physically in 4 years. I've, 31F, been with my husband, 29N, for 8 years, married 3. She has met him twice in the entire duration of my relationship with him. He's a quiet and serious man who only opens up in front of me and a few of his select friends. She was struggling to get a job here, so I thought I'd be a good person and ask my husband if he could maybe help her find a job at his company, since they work in the same type of field. Fast forward to current times, they actually work in the same department now. He's been acting more closed off towards me lately, but he claims everything is fine when I ask him what is wrong. We had our traditional family Christmas meal yesterday, and at first he tried to get out of it. This is not something he's ever tried to do, and I was very confused by this. After some convincing, he finally agreed to come along. My sister pulled him aside a few times, and they were in a very deep conversation, as if the rest of us didn't exist. When I approached them every time, they both would jump a little, and when I'd ask what they were talking about, they would say, "A work project that's near deadline." I was feeling a little off about their behavior, but the one thing that got me the most was at one point he got up to go get himself another drink. She was sitting in a chair that was next to the kitchen door, so he had to pass her to go to the kitchen. When he was near her, she put her hand up, reached towards him, and he caressed her palm and lightly grabbed her fingers as he walked past her. She looked up at him with a big smile. He looked down at her and nodded his head. As soon as he was out of sight, she turned her head towards me and smirked at me. When it was time for dinner, there was a main dining table that seats most of the guests. There was a second table that could seat an additional 4 people. She sat down at the side table, away from everyone else. I got my plate and sat down at the main table, but saw that he sat down at the side table with her. I told him there was a seat next to me, and he told me he wanted to sit where he was at. I decided to join them, and they went from actively talking to each other to just sitting in silence while we ate. I later asked him what that hand touching was about, and he said, "It's just a high five." I said it didn't look like a high five, and he said that's all it was. I've never had any reason to suspect him of cheating, but this has me feeling on edge. I've been battling with myself to investigate further. Another thing is that he doesn't focus that strongly when he and I talk. It's always just short answers and lighthearted. They were having some intense conversations, where he was hanging on her every word and giving her in-depth responses. Would this make you feel like something is going on? There were several instances where they were both on their phone texting at the same time as well, and glancing at each other sometimes. That could be nothing, but after everything else, it made me feel uneasy. I am starting to suspect my husband and my sister may be having an affair, or are beginning to think about doing so. I can't decide if I'm being paranoid or if there's really something suspicious going on. I don't know if I should talk to him, or her, more, set clear boundaries, or investigate further. What are some steps I can take? Update 1. I apologize for not updating sooner. I've been busy getting things sorted out. After my first post on a Tuesday, I had asked my husband if he'd go on a little weekend getaway with me. We went to a cabin up in the mountains. Neither of us had cell phone service. I planned for that, as I wanted to make sure I had his full attention. The first night went fantastic, and I almost forgot everything about my concerns with my sister. When we woke up the next morning, we cooked breakfast together, but he was rather quiet. I asked if he'd go on a little walk with me, which he agreed to. When we reached the lake, there were some large rocks that you could sit on. We both sat on the same rock, and we sat there in silence for what felt like forever. I finally got the courage to bring up the concerns I had with my sister and him, and his face went white. He admitted to falling in love with my sister. He said that it all started because of how much they have in common. They spend more time together at work than he does with me at home. He said he feels like he can talk to her about anything, and it never gets tiring. He said he's never felt more alive than he does when he's with her, and they started having a physical affair in October. The emotional affair began in June, after working with her for a couple of months since the end of April. He apologized for hurting me and betraying me. I asked him what he wanted to do about it, and he said that as much as he knows it will hurt me to say, he no longer is in love with me. The most painful thing I've ever heard in my life is when he said that the way he feels for her made him realize that he's never once felt that way for me, even at the time when he loved me the most. He said it's not comparable by any measure, and he doesn't feel right staying married to me. We are splitting an agreement that the marriage is over, but yes, I am heartbroken. They have both applied to transfer jobs to a different city with the same company, and he offered to let me keep the house. I told him that I didn't want the house because it reminds me of us. We have split the finances, and he is giving me more money than he is taking. We are getting ready to list it for sale, and I've been packing and doing odds and ends like painting. He said I could keep the full amount of the house sale. New carpet flooring comes tomorrow, and the movers come this afternoon. I found a small house for myself to start fresh, but I know it will take some time for me to not be so heartbroken. My sister, on the other hand, is not handling it as kindly as he is, and she is gloating. She even accidentally sent me a photo of both of them where you can tell she is in heaven because she won him away from me. She changed her profile photo to a picture of her taking a selfie of herself, smiling very smug, as he is kissing her forehead. I unfollowed her on TikTok because now she's posting videos and photos of them together. Some of them are from months ago, and it kicked me in the heart. I asked him if he could please ask her to stop. He said he'd talk to her about it, but nothing has changed. I have removed myself from social media for now, except for Reddit. My mother is favoring my sister's side, saying that she's not posting those things to hurt me, and my sister deserves to be happy. My mom said it's my fault for looking, and I need to stop being so petty. My father is taking the white flag and said he'd like to stay out of it. He said it's not right what my sister did, but she's still his daughter. He said he won't accept their relationship and he is here for me for whatever I need, but he won't be in the middle of this. I respect his decision on that. I'm sure it's not an easy place to be in. Thank you all for the kind words and all of the advice that was given. I probably didn't add everything, but my brain is kind of foggy at the moment. My husband admitted to being in love with my sister and having an affair. He asked for a divorce and they are pursuing their relationship officially. Update 2. Hey everyone, I didn't expect to be back with another update so soon, but things have escalated in a way I never saw coming. I'm still processing everything, so bear with me if this is all over the place. After my last update, I focused on getting settled into my new house. It's been a strange mix of heartbreak and relief. I've been trying to create a space that's all mine, free from the memories of what happened. I thought I'd start fresh, but just when I was beginning to feel a little more like myself, my sister dropped a bombshell. She called me out of the blue, which was surprising because we hadn't spoken since the last disaster. At first, I wasn't going to answer, but curiosity got the better of me. When I picked up, she immediately launched into this weird, almost rehearsed speech about how she's been reflecting on everything that's happened. She said she felt like she needed to come clean about something she hadn't told me before. I wasn't sure what to expect. An apology, maybe. But what she told me was worse than anything I could have imagined. Apparently, her relationship with my husband didn't start by chance. She said that when she first moved back to town, she was angry at me. Angry that I had built a life here. Angry that I was happily married and, in her words, had it all. She felt like she had nothing after all those years away, and seeing me happy made her resentful. So she decided to prove that I didn't deserve what I had. She knew my husband was a loyal guy, so she made it her mission to win him over, just to prove she could. She admitted that she deliberately sought out the job at his company, and once she was there, she started planting seeds of doubt in his mind about our relationship. She said she'd casually mention things like how sad it must be that I didn't understand his work, or how she and I were so different growing up, subtly suggesting that I wasn't the right match for him. When he started confiding in her more, she made her move, knowing that it would devastate me. And it worked. I was in shock hearing all of this. It was like everything I thought I knew was a lie. I couldn't even respond at first because I was so stunned. She sounded almost proud of herself, like she had accomplished something. But then she told me that after all of this, she's realized she doesn't actually love him. She said she got caught up in the game, and now that she's won, she doesn't want to be with him anymore. She said she was calling to apologize for what she did, but the way she said it felt hollow and manipulative, like she just wanted to get it off her chest so she could move on without any guilt. I ended the call without saying much. I felt completely shattered all over again. I haven't spoken to my husband since finding out, but I'm torn about whether to even tell him what she said. Part of me wants to, because he deserves to know the truth, but another part of me thinks it won't change anything. He's already hurt me so deeply, and I'm not sure if hearing that she manipulated him would make any difference at this point. I'm so drained from all of this. I thought I could start to heal, but this new revelation has thrown me back into the emotional chaos I was trying so hard to escape. I don't know what to do next. Should I tell my husband the truth about her manipulation? Should I just cut them both out of my life for good and move on? I'm lost, and I could really use some advice. Update 3. Hey Reddit, I'm back again. I didn't think I'd have more to say, but after reading through all your advice and taking some time to process, I finally decided to confront my husband with everything my sister told me. We met up at a cafe. Neutral ground, you know? I could tell he was nervous because he probably expected more drama, but I went into it calmly. I laid it all out. How my sister had intentionally manipulated him, how she never actually loved him, and how her entire plan was to hurt me because of her own insecurities. I watched his face as I spoke, and honestly, it was like watching someone's world fall apart in real time. He just kept shaking his head, saying, "I can't believe this," over and over. When I was done, there was this long silence. I didn't know what to expect. Anger, regret, denial. But what came next blindsided me. He looked up at me with tears in his eyes and said he felt like his whole life had been a lie. He said he was sorry, really, genuinely sorry. Not just for the affair, but for allowing himself to be so blind to everything. He told me he'd been planning to move to the new city with my sister, thinking they'd start this new life together, but now he doesn't know what to do. He asked me if I could ever forgive him. And that's where things got really complicated for me. I don't think I can ever fully forgive him for what he did, betraying our marriage, being with my sister, but I also realized in that moment that I don't hate him. I hate what he did, and I'm angry at how everything turned out. But there's still a part of me that cares about him. Maybe it's because we spent so many years together, or maybe it's just the remnants of love that haven't fully died yet. But I told him that while I couldn't forgive him in the way he wanted, I could try to let go of some of the bitterness. I told him that for my own sake, I need to move on and find peace. After our conversation, he decided he wasn't going to move with my sister. He told me he wanted to stay in town and work on himself, figure out how he ended up in this mess in the first place. He's been seeing a therapist, and he said he wants to focus on becoming a better person, whether or not we ever reconcile. As for my sister, well, I haven't spoken to her since her apology. From what I hear, she's furious that my husband isn't following her anymore. She thought she had everything under control, and now she's realizing that her little game has left her completely alone. I'm done with her. I don't need that kind of toxic energy in my life. So here I am, trying to rebuild. I'm in my new house, slowly making it a home. I've reconnected with some old friends, and I'm trying to take things one day at a time. I'm still hurt, but I'm also learning that it's okay to be hurt. It doesn't mean I'm weak, it just means I'm human. And maybe, in time, I'll be able to look back on this chapter of my life and see it as the moment I finally found my strength. Thanks for sticking with me through all of this. Your support has meant more to me than I can say. I'm not sure if there will be any more updates, but for now, I'm focusing on healing and moving forward.